But sometimes they will put, we listened to a council meeting or we read a document or we know that program X is going to, then now you're getting specific.
Yeah, okay.
And that's going to at least hold my attention to see what your message is.
Yeah. Milton Dohoney, thank you for joining us today. I'm super excited to have you on the podcast.
Thank you, I'm glad to be here.
So I think your career is an amazing one. I'd love to just, for folks who don't know it, like walk us through it. You spent 40 years working in city administration, most recently with Ann Arbor, but you've seen Phoenix, you've seen Louisville, you've seen a bunch of different places. Walk us through that.
I worked for the city of Louisville for more than 20 plus years. The last 4, I was the deputy mayor. That was a strong mayor form of government.
Okay.
Went to Lexington, that was a merged city-county government. Did that for 4 years. Then went to Cincinnati as the city manager for 8. Went to Phoenix for 8 as the number 2 person. And then I've been in Ann Arbor almost 5 years.
And I think if I have my facts straight, Phoenix is the largest council manager form of government in the United States. Is that right?
That is correct. It is also the 5th largest city in the United States. We had 15,000 employees, 1.7 million people in the city population, inside city limits. And everything you can imagine that goes on in a big city goes on there.
For sure. And for those who may not know, what's the high-level distinction between council manager and just strong mayor? I don't know what you call the other version of it.
The strong mayor means that the mayor is the chief executive. The mayor hires all of the staff. They report to him. The mayor has the authority to remove staff. In the council manager form of government, the city manager is the chief executive. So I am the chief executive of Ann Arbor, Michigan. The staff is hired and managed by me. The council only has 2 employees here. That's the city administrator and the city attorney.
Interesting. And that's, you have like an agreement that is a certain amount of time, I'm assuming then, and that council renews from period to period. How does that work?
It's a contract. Mine is open-ended. It's reviewed annually, where they set the salary, you move on. In some cities, it'll be for a specified period of years, 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, 6 years, whatever they negotiate.
Got it. And I think one other interesting Milton fact is you've written a book.
I have.
You've written a book, and it's all about leadership. It always starts with leadership. And I think part of what I read was part of the reason why you wrote that was you felt like city managers weren't, usually doing, public, whether it's a talk or a book. What inspired you to write the book? What were you hoping to accomplish?
My hope was to really connect with those people that are aspiring to become city managers. If you sort of look at our profession, the baby boomers like me are retiring out. Then you have a gap in terms of numbers, in terms of the number of people available to take those jobs. And I was focusing on knowing that my colleagues express, we need to hear from people who are actually doing the job.
Yeah.
That is a different angle than someone who's teaching who's never done it. It's not what you can find in a particular book, per se, a classroom book. So mine is from a practitioner's perspective, and I kept it real throughout the book on here are situations, here are thought patterns, here are considerations that you want to have. Here's how you're going to be evaluated. Here's things you should be thinking about as it relates to certain topics. Amazing.
Well, thank you for doing it. I think that's a really important subject and topic. And I think where I wanted to ask you about next was all about maybe just kind of level setting on laws versus policy. How do these things come together for a city? Because in the case of Ann Arbor, I think it is true that you have the city charter, which is like the Constitution for the city. Then you got ordinances, which is the laws. You've got resolutions, and then you have city policy. Right? Are those the 4 layers that you think of? Okay.
Yes.
What's different about each of those, and how does it show up every day in your work? How do they relate together and interact?
You start with the charter. The charter is the Constitution. For those who would be so inclined, the charter is the Bible. It's the guiding foundation. So So the charter identifies the structure of government. The charter identifies who has what authority. The charter identifies the term of the council participation, if you will. It names the departments or service areas. So it trumps everything else. Ordinances are laws that are passed by the city council. They can never usurp the charter. Resolutions are, in effect, a stated preference of the governing body, the city council. And in effect, we follow those if they're passed by, and they'd have to be passed by a majority of council, but they don't carry the weight of law the way an ordinance does. And the thing that you didn't mention that sometimes factors in is the state legislation. So
Sure.
They can preempt us from doing a certain thing, or they can stop us from doing a certain thing.
Gotcha. So to step through a couple of things that related to that, like at the federal level, if Congress passes a law and folks think that it's unconstitutional, that would go to the Supreme Court.
Right.
Who's the Supreme Court for the city of Ann Arbor?
The General Assembly.
Okay.
If they think that something is inappropriate going on, that would be the course that they would take. But it doesn't happen very often, but occasionally the state will take an action that preempts something the city is doing.
Sure.
There are times, as time passes, where we realize the charter that was written decades ago may be out of date, and so we need to make a change.
Yeah.
We have to go back for a vote of the people in order to make that change. So we do not have the administrative or legislative authority to do that, except for the vote of the public.
Got it. You can get something put on the ballot.
We can,
And-
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
And so the General Assembly at the state level would be kind of the arbiter of whether this ordinance is in conflict with the charter. Is that what I'm hearing?
Part of the process is you're contemplating a ballot initiative. You have to run it past the Secretary of State for review.
Okay.
Depending on what you're talking about, it may pass by the Attorney General. Then it goes on the ballot, and people decide they like it or they don't like it.
Got it. And so the amendments to the charter, those are proposed by, I'm sure the city government can propose it. Who could bring up a proposed amendment then?
It ultimately goes through City Council. So it could be something that the staff has identified that we really need to get this changed.
Mm-hmm.
We go to City Council and get approval to pursue that.
Right.
There is a drafting of the language. It is run past the city clerk, the attorneys, et cetera, and the council will ultimately have to vote to place it on the ballot. They have to approve the language of what it says. And so ultimately at the local level, it's the city council who is determining what's going to go forward.
I understand. Okay, great. And then, so coming down from the charter, you have ordinances.
Resolutions come next.
And then resolutions, yeah, and then policy.
Right.
And so my understanding is that, like, for instance, in the case of Ann Arbor, the ordinances, the charter and the ordinances are online for everyone to read, right? They're on Municode, I think, in our case. Is that also true of resolutions? Are those online as well?
I believe they are, but if there's something that's not there, anybody can file a FOIA to get anything that's considered.
Anything that's not there.
Yeah, considered public document, and it'll go through a redaction process. So if there's something that people shouldn't be able to access, then it'll be blacked out, et cetera.
Removed.
And then we'll provide it.
Okay, and is that also true for policy as well? Internal policy documents?
That would be true as well.
Okay.
Because I don't know what the actual number is, but it's a pretty significant number of policies. So when you think about policies, or sometimes we call them administrative regs,
Yep.
those are things that I am signing off on as the city administrator. And really they're going more to how we behave, how we perform in a day-to-day basis kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's not a policy setting thing, but people at the operational level need a certain amount of leadership and guidance and clarity
Totally.
And that is meant to provide that clarity to them.
So do you find that, how common is it for you to, I guess, take an ordinance or a resolution that was passed and then have a policy document or documents associated with it? Is it a one-for-one?
No.
No?
It really depends on what it is.
Okay.
Sometimes an ordinance is passed and the outgrowth of that ordinance doesn't really alter what we're doing day to day. The ordinance may be regulating behavior of the public.
Sure.
Telling them they can do this or not do that.
Sure.
Where it would impact us is enforcing it. So if someone is violating the ordinance, who is the entity that regulates or cites or corrects behavior? Is that the police department? Is it a building official? It just depends on what the ordinance is talking about.
Understand. Cool. And I remember when we spoke before, one of the things that you brought up is if you seek to make change to one of these things, if I recall correctly, the administrative regs or the policies that you have to sign off on. Is that correct? Whereas if you wanted to change, if there was a groundswell to change either a resolution or an ordinance or the charter, I mean, we already talked about the process that you'd have to go through for the charter, but for the ordinances and the resolutions, that is also something that would have to be activated through city council. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay.
They would have to say, yes, we're going to make the amendment.
And is there, I guess I'm just curious of the practical nature of that. Like, is there one that comes to mind recently? Because I guess what I'm wondering is that something that a citizen could raise and could flag, or, an employee of the city, you could raise and flag to city council of, hey, we feel like this ordinance no longer serves the interest that we want to achieve, and so we recommend changing it. Like, what are the different on-ramps to that city council decision?
It could be both. It could be something that comes from the public. Here's what the ordinance says. Here's how it is actually impacting us in the neighborhoods. Perhaps there is an unintended consequence that is being played out day to day.
Yep.
So they would take that through their council member.
Okay.
And the council member can decide, what they want to do about it, or it could come from staff.
Okay.
Here is something we're seeing in the actual execution of the ordinance. Is this what you intended?
Yeah.
If it's not, then we need to talk about an amendment.
Yeah, that's super clear. Thank you for breaking that down. So, and then in the case where a citizen brought that to a council member, it would be up to the council member to figure out whether they felt it was a good use of time to, get more folks on board to the degree that now they have. Is it a majority that you need to come majority of council?
You would always need that. What happens in almost every case is the council person is going to come to staff and say, I received this from a constituent. Would you check it out to see if there is validity to what they're saying? Because sometimes people will say, well, something is happening,
right,
and it's not really happening.
Totally.
So we have to go confirm and sort of verify that, yes, this is happening. It is not consistent with the spirit of where you all were trying to go, the intent.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do about it?
Yeah, and I would an example of that be, like, I think recently I saw some signs being taken down for, like, neighborhood watch, for instance.
Yes.
Is that an example of that?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the because I think one I guess observation that Pursuit has had is that oftentimes the rules that were intended to help taxpayers can work the opposite way, right? For good reason, right? Because, like, there was an unintended consequence that comes up that folks didn't believe. So, like, a common one that we've heard about from other procurement leaders who've been on the show is, there's a lot of good reasons for wanting to put verifications and prior work experience and having these certifications done in order for a vendor to be eligible to work with the city. But that might disadvantage some businesses who don't know that that's the process you have to go through. And by the time an RFP drops, you have a 45-day process to get registered as a local business. The RFP is only open for 30 days. So, kind of you're stuck by the time you find out about it, right? Only as one example, but I know you've done things too to like shorten council meetings from 7 hours to 3. I'm just curious, like, walk us through some of the your view of the policies, some of the changes that you've made to, whether it's the administrative regs or things that you've advocated for, to council. What are some themes related to those things? It sounds like efficiency of time is certainly one of them.
Efficiency of time is certainly one of those. Trying to find better ways to do things all the time, trying to improve the manner in which we communicate with council and with the public. What kind of feedback are we getting from those who are receiving the things that we're doing? Shortening the council meetings is something that has occurred, I think, because we are doing a better job of managing the agenda. If you know that you have items on the agenda that are going to require a considerable amount of discussion, does it make sense to put 5 or 6 of those on the same agenda? In my view, it does not, unless it's something that's time sensitive. So we manage the agenda by what goes on there and when.
Yeah.
We actually talk about, are these things that have invoked passion on behalf of the public? Because typically we know that.
Yep.
Are these things that are complicated and people really can't understand it? So we put a lot of time and effort into looking at what we're putting on and how we think the process will go.
Yeah. So to play that back, I guess what jumps out to me there is how thorny is the issue? Is it you didn't say this, but like, is it a lightning rod that
Yes.
The public cares a lot about?
Absolutely.
Is there any complexity to it, or is it pretty much just like down the fairway? And if it's down the fairway, put it in a consent agenda maybe, and then
Correct.
If it is one of these thorny issues, let's deal with the one that is the most important and urgent. And if that's all we can cover on this meeting, push it to the next one, as long as it's not a time-sensitive thing. Is that
Correct?
So managing the agenda that council has been one of those areas where you've exercised administrative.
It
authority.
is. When I came in October of 21, we were going to the wee hours a lot of the time. And from as an objective standpoint, as I can say it, many of those meetings were not productive.
Yeah.
We were simply being repetitive, it was argumentative, it was personal, it was not efficient. And so you're asking staff to be up past midnight and then show up the next day to do their jobs.
Yep.
And if that needs to happen, then we're prepared to do it. But if there's a more efficient way to do the government's business while also respecting everyone else's time, we try to do that.
How much of that was resolved by the way that you managed the meeting versus other things? Coaching people outside of the meeting, or, I'm curious.
I wouldn't put a number on it, but it's a combination of things. It is, how the item is going to be debated. Have we done enough work up front before the item goes on the agenda to make sure that council understands what the item is about from the staff perspective or from the public's perspective? Is it ripe to be debated and voted on? Sometimes we need more time. And we can even pause an item at the table and take it back for more discussion if it's clear that it's not fully ready to go.
Got it. Makes a ton of sense. Thanks. To segue, I guess, into the topic of procurement, and purchasing things. Technology is one area that we've talked a lot about with other guests. From your perspective, where you sit, what is the ideal, like, let's say we're talking about a couple $100,000 purchase for technology. It could be, I don't know, licensing system for the city for business licenses or approvals on permits or things. Just as one example, you don't have to take that one. But what in your ideal world would one of these purchases look like, end to end?
It really starts by a need that's been identified within a service area. Within our government structure, service area is what's more commonly referred to as a department. We just don't use that term.
Sure. but police or building, for instance.
They've identified a need. They believe that there is a software or technology option that will help address the need. They would talk with IT to say, here's our need and here's what we think the solution is. IT will get involved and determine if it's accurate. They would also identify, do we already have a system that maybe doesn't have a switch turned on that allows the solution to occur without acquiring something else?
Yep.
Then there will be a discussion about the sort of range of cost associated with it. And if it's all good, then there may be a procurement process where an RFP will be put out and then the marketplace can bid on it. And one of the things I'll point out, because we are a small city, some would say moderate, whatever you want to use.
Yeah.
Some companies would not chase our business because we're too small for them. It's not worth the effort that they would have to put into it. Others, we're in the sweet spot of what they're the kind of business or level of business they're trying to get.
Right.
And so we'll run through the process and then we'll see. Sometimes the RFP process will actually call for, we're not just going by the words you put on a page, you're gonna have to demo your product before we buy it.
Yep.
Or we get to test it for X period of time to make sure it works the way you said it does before we make that purchase.
Yeah, love that. Can we step through that? Because just to play that back, what I heard is somewhere in the department, if they've got a problem or a challenge or a goal that they need to meet or an opportunity that they see, there's an idea that originates, right?
Yes.
And that's going to originate within the department.
Yes.
They're going to do some homework on it to figure out, what exactly are they trying to do? What exactly are they trying to solve for? Who are some possible people out there in the marketplace that could address that? You said they would, at some point in there, they would bring in IT.
Yes.
And IT would verify, like, hey, we don't have another system in place that will solve this purpose. I assume they're also doing their, security due diligence and integrations. If it has to touch other city systems, they need to make sure that that's all good. So that would happen then. And then you talked about budget. Who does the budget conversation happen with? Is it like if I'm running the department, whether it's police or building or something else, if I have the room in my budget, what's the conversation that I need to have? Like, is that with finance?
It is with finance because there's a couple of things that have to be discussed. Do you have the money to purchase it is one thing, so the acquisition, but what is the ongoing cost?
Right.
What's the annual license fee?
Right.
Is your budget set up to handle that?
Right.
Who is actually going to be using it? So you have 100 people that work for you and you're trying to acquire something that 2 people will use. So we're going to challenge, is that really necessary in order for the job to be done?
Right.
So once the money is sort of certified that it's there, the need is validated.
Also by finance at that point?
That's between finance and the service area.
Okay.
Procurement will be brought into the conversation. Hey, we're thinking about maybe acquiring X, and here's a time frame we need to do it in. Can that work for you? And then if you're going to actually do an RFP process that's formal, then procurement will be involved and they actually will run the process.
Yeah. So and I'm sure they would. The word that came to mind was liaise. They would work with the department. They would work with IT. They'd work with finance and make sure that that RFP solicitation got drafted in the appropriate way.
The user agency has to do the scope. What is it you want this to do? What are you looking for it to be able to do? That has to be clear, and it needs to come from the user end, not the procurement office.
Right. And my understanding is Ann Arbor is a best value form of government. I don't know if you say it that way, but there's basically, right? Am I correct that there's best value and then there's lowest responsible bid? Those are the 2 approaches.
Yeah, that's per city policy. So
Yeah.
that's something that the city council has passed.
Okay.
And that influences how we do procurement.
And that would be probably an ordinance, but maybe it's in the charter for other cities and counties. Is that fair?
Yeah, I'm not aware of it being in many charters. It would certainly
Be
in
an ordinance.
ordinances,
Okay.
but being in the city charter is less likely.
Yeah, okay. And then as it relates to the RFP process, there's, we see a lot of these cooperative contracts. Some are at the state level, some are regional, some are national, right? There's NASPO, there's Omnia, there's a bunch of, cooperative contracts where there's a lead agency who's, carried the flag and said, hey, we're going to conduct this RFP on behalf of everyone else. Everyone else can piggyback on this RFP. Do you have a preference, or do you have a preference? And then also, would your team have a preference whether or not to do the RFP themselves versus purchasing off of a co-op, or is it all the same to you?
We will piggyback where it's in our best interest or where it makes the most sense. So we look at state contracts, we look at other opportunities to purchase, because one of the things that says is that the vendor, the product to an extent has been vetted already.
Right.
So if we can get it faster, we may go that route.
Yeah.
But we're also going to take a close look at what is the range of products that we can get under the contract, and how do the products perform in comparison to what our need is. Is it efficient? Does it perform in the field the way we need it to?
Right.
If it is something that we're looking for an EV version, is that there
Right.
or not?
Yep.
So we look at all of that, and we try to go in the most efficient manner possible. The other thing that I'll mention that we have been forced to look at more in recent years is how fast can we get it. So for example, if we're needing to replace a fire truck today,
Yep.
the way the market is operating, it's 2026, it may be 2030 before we actually get it.
Wow.
That's the way the
Supply chain is.
That's the way
Wow.
it is. So there are areas that if we can get it faster by not using the contract, then we'll consider that.
Yeah.
So all of that will factor into the decision.
Gotcha. That's fascinating. So is when you think about, I guess to play that back, what I think I heard, correct me if I'm misstating, you're looking at the scope of what your needs are.
Yes.
Relative to the scope that was, if there was a competitive or a co-op out there that had a similar scope,
Right.
and therefore it sought, similar vendors, then that would say, okay, cool, like we're able to use that. Related to that, how does pricing come up? Like, how do you have thoughts on? And I know you're not in finance nor are you in procurement, but like, do you have thoughts on like a best practice approach to make sure that the pricing that was on the co-op is, the best that you could receive for the city as well?
Really, and this is a generalization, but I know it's valid based on my experience. You're going to look at what does the unit cost and how much money do you have. If you really want that, you don't really have the money for it now, then that's really creating a budget ask that you're going to make for the next round of the budget.
Yeah.
If it's something that you absolutely have to have and you don't have the money in your current budget, then the discussion shifts to, is this important enough that we're going to go to city council in the middle of the fiscal year and ask them to appropriate additional money to your budget in order for the purchase to be made? You have to make a solid business case for that to be true.
Got it.
Otherwise, you're going to be told, well, then ask for it the next time the budget cycle happens and we'll see.
So is that the case where, like, just to pick an example, let's just say Department A has a purchase that they'd like to make, and they feel confident that they need to make this purchase, but they are short some money in the budget. It would require city council to approve pulling budget from another city department. Is that what you're saying?
No, it would be coming from the general fund.
Okay, got it. So to
it's,
pull it
would
from
be coming
another
from
city,
the unappropriated balance.
Is it a thing where like you could pull it from another department, or does that not really happen in practice?
In theory, it could happen. In practicality, that does not happen.
Okay, got it.
And you're not going to go to another department. You're going to go to your bank account,
Yep.
in plain terms, and take the money out and spend it.
Yeah.
Before we get to that, one of the things I'm going to ask is, can you shift money around within your budget? If you're telling me it's more important than B that you're also doing,
Right.
can you reduce your spend in B to free up money for us to buy A?
Yeah, I see. And okay, so they say no, we can't, and then you're like, okay, well, let's put together. You obviously support it, right? By this point, and then you would put together a case to go to council to have that expense approved.
Yes. And that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
Within the
In your
span of-
5 years, how many times does that happen?
Certainly less than 10.
Okay, yeah. So
mean-
twice a year, maybe.
Yeah, because most of the time I'm going to say no.
Right.
It's not urgent.
Yeah. Okay.
It's important, but it's not urgent. It can wait until the next budget cycle.
Got it. So so just so I'm clear, if I'm running a department, also if I'm a vendor who's trying to, sell something into a department, it either is in the budget for this year, or they've got to go to council to get additional money appropriated from the general fund that was in addition to the budget that was already approved. So I imagine that's not, like you said, twice a year that's happening, maybe. Or they wait to next year. Are those the only three options?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Unless somebody's going to buy it for us.
Yeah. Okay, a grant maybe, or something.
We're very aggressive about pursuing grants.
Yep.
We pursue grants from state government, from federal government. Sometimes there are foundations out there that will underwrite certain things.
Okay.
So if there's an opportunity for us to get outside funding for a certain thing, then we will pursue that.
And I would imagine that's true even if it's within budget, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So talk to me about that, because I've heard differing opinions from folks on grants. On the one hand, it's great because it's outside funding, doesn't hit your budget. On the other hand, does it create, and you kind of alluded to this before, but does it create a shortfall in if there's like expenses that are required in the future years? Does that then put you in a place where now you have to come up with a budget? If the grant is a 1-year thing or a 2-year thing, like what about the out years, right? How do you think about that?
It really depends on what you're getting the grant for. If the grant is going to allow you to acquire a tangible item, so the grant is paying for it, but the grant's not going to cover the operating portion of it,
Yeah.
then we will evaluate, do you have the money to handle the operating cost? So the item, whatever it is, let's say the item costs $2 million, the grant's going to buy the item, but it's not going to give you the money to operate. Do we have the ability to carry that forward?
Right.
And so you're kind of determining that. Where the higher level of scrutiny really comes in is if the grant is going to allow you to fill jobs. So you're going to hire 3 people and their jobs are grant funded. So
What happens when the grant funding dries up?
So they either are separated from the government or you absorb them into the government. But they have to be told before they leave a job to take a job, hey, this position is grant funded, meaning the grant could not be extended.
Yeah.
Therefore, you would be vulnerable. Do you
Yeah.
still want to come?
Got it. So that any job, is it true then that any job that is hired, like full-time hire of the city, if it's grant funded, those employees know about it up front, 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing I'd love to run by you. One of the things that I commonly hear, and I'll leave the names out of it, but that I commonly hear from technology vendors is, we do everything we can to get ahead of an RFP. If we're finding out about something when the RFP drops, through some RFP portal or something, oftentimes those bids have been shaped, right? And I've heard from vendors that if they're not involved in, they don't know the folks in government, they don't have any kind of relationship history with them, they don't understand their needs and their requirements really that well, that their win rates on a so-called blind RFP might be 3%, right? Whereas, if they knew that this RFP was coming or that this need existed, and they could get in there before and, you know, build a relationship, get to know the people, get to know the goals and the challenges, you know, the problem space that the government is trying to address or solve, then their win rates could be 40%. And the other thing I hear regularly is that responding to RFPs is a non-trivial expense, right? Like there's teams of people that have to get in there and, you know, look at the requirements matrices and make sure that the legal is good. And so a lot of times people do the math and they're like 3% win rate, we're probably not even going to respond. I'm curious, like as a city manager, when you hear that, I'm sure that's not the first time you've heard that. Like what comes to mind there? Like how would you respond to that?
The first thing I would say is there's no such thing in my world as a predetermined bid. It's completely inappropriate.
Yeah.
Borderline illegal.
Yeah.
So there's no way I'm going to say, yeah, that's how we're going to operate.
Yeah.
I said earlier, we're a small city.
Right.
And one of the ways that is manifested is if I'm working in an environment where there's thousands of employees, there are more opportunities for you to be able to communicate with people. When you have 800 plus employees and everybody's doing stuff all day, there's no time. One of the biggest mistakes that vendors make that is a complete waste of time is they think they have to start the conversation with me personally. They're trying to get 15 or 30 minutes on my calendar. It's not going to happen. I don't have time to be pitched by 20 companies a day.
Some random thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's probably, or maybe something I don't know that much about to begin with.
Sure.
So this product would really help this parks program that you're doing. We want to start with the city administrator and we want to explain it to you in 15 minutes and that'll help. It's not going to help you.
Yeah.
So you need to be reaching out.
Do you think it hurts them or it just doesn't help?
It doesn't hurt them.
Yeah.
But if they are assuming or desirous that I'm going to take their email and shop it around the government, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. Well,
so
totally. Yeah, I hear you. I think probably what they're, you know, coached to do as teams is, you know, start high, right? Like you don't want to, it's hard to work your way up from like the day-to-day user up to the decision maker. So start at the decision maker. And they're probably thinking, you know, I can send, I don't know how many city managers there are in the country, but I can send 500 emails pretty quickly. And maybe 2% of them say sure because their city council had some parks program. But yeah, I'm with you. Like, you know, just sending kind of indiscriminate blasts is it's certainly a waste of your time and inbox to be churning through those.
I think one consideration that may help vendors, if they need to be honest, is your product something that can be used across the entire organization, or is your product something that only one department would use?
Yeah.
Clearly, if it's only one department, you're wasting time trying to come to me.
Yeah, right. I mean,
if you're trying to sell something that will impact our entire system that we can use in multiple places, then maybe an email to me to get it on my radar is worth your time.
Yeah. Do you think it's, so we can 100% agree, you know, if I sell something to the building department, why would I be hitting up the police chief? Like that probably is obvious to people, right?
Yeah.
At least I hope it would be. But you know, like I guess to your parks example, let's say theoretically in this hypothetical world, there was some council initiative related to parks. And so then, you know, presumably that's therefore taking your time and mind share to think through. Would that be an example where even though you don't run the department, they should still focus their energy, I would say, on the person running the department. But given that it is like a council level priority, do you think it's more reasonable that they would reach out to you, or still not a good use of time?
No, it might be a good use of time in that case. If there's something where City Council is expressing a desire for us to do a better job in a certain area or on a certain thing, and you've heard that, and your company provides that, then sending me an email about it makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Because I will then take that to the service area and say,
Yeah.
this seems consistent with what council has been talking about.
Yeah.
I need you to vet it.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to do that.
Sure. Yeah.
But I'll take it to the people that would.
So I think the takeaway there probably ought to be listen. Like as a vendor, right? Like the vendor needs to listen to what's going on in council. They need to, understand what those priorities are, and try not to add noise. Yeah. Right. I think that's kind of the key takeaway there. Okay. So to circle back, I think going back all the way to the beginning, like if the department has what I'll call a business need or a problem that they need to address, 4 out of 5 times, starting with the folks in that department is the right move, or maybe it's even more than that. What I'd love your opinion on is, I think if you were to talk to, I haven't talked to Ann Arbor procurement folks, but other procurement folks I've talked about, I think have a vision that is procurement's brought in at the earliest stage, right? So from the moment that the business user says, I have this goal or this need, procurement would be brought in shortly thereafter to help them formulate what it looks like. In your world, maybe I'd love to know your realistic take on that. Like, what do you think is the most pragmatic, practical thing? Like, when should a department pull in procurement? What would need to be true or false in order for them to pull in procurement?
In my opinion, you wouldn't necessarily bring in procurement until and unless you were comfortable that if it's an IT related thing, IT has blessed that, this is something you might pursue, and finance has confirmed that you actually have the money to do it. If you haven't done those two things, going to procurement's premature.
Got it.
If you want to pick the brain of the procurement manager on, hey, we're looking at X, so we have this need. Are you aware of any other cities that maybe have purchased something like this, where you're sort of getting information from them versus asking them to trigger the formal RFP process?
Right.
Then that would make sense.
Sure.
But once you've determined, you've done your homework, you've run it through all the traps, you've really checked out to the degree possible, does it actually work? Yeah. Then you roll forward.
Got it. One thing that you brought up proactively, which I love, was like a common mistake that vendors make, and that's coming to you for all the things. Are there other similar things that like you just wish the vendor community better understood that would make your life easier, that you think would allow government to, get its job done more effectively? Or maybe like typical ways they screw up?
I would say do a little more homework about Ann Arbor. Because if I get 60 emails a day from somebody trying to sell the city something, only about 10 of them will have something contained in the message that shows me they've actually looked at who Ann Arbor is and what we do. Yeah. Just firing off the sort of
thoughtless email. Yeah.
Yeah. I get emails with regularity from a vendor trying to sell us things associated with shipping and things that come off barges. And I'm like...
Off the Huron River?
Who do you think we are?
Yeah, right, yeah.
So I see it and just hit delete and keep moving.
Yeah.
But sometimes they will put, we listened to a council meeting or we read a document or we know that program X is going to, then now you're getting specific.
Yeah, okay.
And that's going to at least hold my attention to see what your message is.
Yeah.
But all of the inviting me to come somewhere, or can I get 30 minutes, or will you do a Teams, or my VP is going to be in town in 3 weeks, can he drop by?
Yeah.
Can she drop by?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. So relevance, I think, is what I'm hearing there. Like doing your homework. I mean, honestly, I didn't ask you to say that, but that's the best possible answer that I could have hoped for, because that's fundamentally what we're trying to do, is make it easier for people to understand who's got the pain points that their solution would
Right.
solve and better match people up. So that makes a ton of sense. I guess like one of the things that I wanted to ask you about was, when you think about back to this, I want to go back to like something that we talked about before related to the codes.
Okay.
You had mentioned in a prior conversation that and I don't remember the specifics. Tell me if you do, but there was something where like you have to approve travel outside of a certain radius, or maybe this, I don't know if this was at Ann Arbor or another place you worked, but I think what I took away from that was there was some issue along the way where too much money was spent on some travel thing, and now as a consequence of that, the city manager gets to approve travel expenditures where someone's traveling for more than 2 hours, right? Is that, did I recall that correctly?
You recall that there was actually a Phoenix example
Okay.
where someone needing to drive from Phoenix to Flagstaff to go to a meeting had
Yeah.
to have my sign off.
Yeah.
So it went through like 5 or 6 hands of saying yes before you could actually get in your car
Yeah.
and go. In the Ann Arbor situation, if you were either invited to travel abroad,
Right.
I'd have to sign off on that. If you had a reason to travel, several thousand miles to take a look at something, you would probably want to talk to me about that before
Yeah.
you put your paperwork in, just so I understand what is the business purpose, what are we going to get out of it.
Yeah.
Now, if you've been invited to speak to some international group of folks, they are interested in hearing how Ann Arbor is doing a certain thing. To me, that has value for us because it is expanding our brand. It is recognizing that we have a level of expertise in a particular area in Ann Arbor that others don't have. So us getting our name, our brand out there to a broader audience would appeal to me.
Yeah.
So then it's weighing value versus cost.
Sure, of course. And the value you would get there, I would imagine, is one of them at least is talent, right? Like, if Ann Arbor is seen as a thought leader on, environment or something, sustainability, then that can be beneficial, or whatever the department may be. Is that the talent is a big consideration there? Are there any others?
Talent is consideration, and also future funding, because sometimes in those audiences, the CEOs of foundations are sitting there.
Yeah.
And they may not be aware that Ann Arbor is doing work in this area, and they provide funding for that. So unless we go in front of them and talk about it, they don't even know that we exist in that particular area.
Yeah.
It goes back to working through the disadvantage that we have by not having local television stations. If you turn on Detroit TV, they're talking about Detroit 12 noon, 6 p.m., 11. There's no station you're turning on that's talking about Ann Arbor like that.
Right.
So we have to work harder to get ourselves out there in the marketplace, and that is one of the areas that I have pushed for us to be more aggressive in during my tenure here.
Yeah. What have you found works in that regard?
So 3 or 4 things. We have increased the level of platforms that we shoot our messaging across.
Sure.
So
social, I imagine. Yeah.
So it's not just doing the traditional. It is attending conferences where there is a relevance to what we're doing. It is accepting opportunities to present. It is writing occasionally, because there are publications that may take the article that we write that talks about what we're doing. And then there's the appearances on things like podcasts, on just things that's going to magnify the spotlight on Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Yeah.
And in other instances, it's partnering with the university because we may have common interest.
Yep.
And so we jointly are trying to put something out. So you look at all of those ways to get our brand more exposure.
Cool. Yeah, it's talent, and then budget, brand, money, and then just kind of the aura of being a thought leader in an innovative space.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. What does your interaction with University of Michigan look like, given that it is a major presence in Ann Arbor, also the hospital system? Is there coordination that's happening there?
There's a lot of coordination. We intersect with the University of Michigan in a variety of ways, from the policy level to the street level. And so we are talking to them At my level, I have communication with the university quite a bit. The service area administrator level, talking to their counterparts.
So public safety, police
Yes.
are interacting, for instance.
Yes, yes. Public Works, we are playing a significant role in helping to facilitate the creation of the 2,500 housing units that the university is trying to bring online. So it's going to intersect with the sewer system.
Yep.
It's going to impact with transportation.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of communication back and forth.
Yeah.
The university has provided significant funding for us to do things.
Yeah.
Sometimes projects that we can't afford to do right now, but we need, they have chosen to fund. They have not always done that. That's
Sure.
something with this in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So,
For instance, would one of those be, I don't know if this is, I'm sorry to interject you there, but like, obviously the new dorms that they're building, right, are near a railroad track. And I think one of the things that was voted on recently and voted down in the last decade, I think, is
the quiet zone.
Quiet zone, yeah. Is that an example of what one such thing? I don't know if they funded that, but
The university is fully funding it.
they are.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're doing a project right now, and I think it's the magnitude of around $15 million.
Okay.
To have a number of quiet zones that move in and around the dorm area. It is something they talk to us about. It's not funding that we have
Yeah.
or are likely to have. They are choosing to fund that. But the communication has to be there on easy topics and on hard topics. And I'm happy to say it is there.
And what does that communication look like, pragmatically speaking? Like, who are you dealing with?
It's everything from people at the VP level, the chief financial officer level.
Okay.
Sometimes there's communication between the mayor's office and the president's office. It just depends on what it is. Government relations is somebody that we are interacting with a lot.
Yeah.
And whatever the topic is, I know that I can pick up a phone and call someone at the university and there will be a discussion. There is a lot of collaboration on sustainability.
Yeah.
So Dr. Stoltz has a counterpart there. They're comparing notes. They're seeing where we can work together. I think the relationship is positive. Are there tensions? Of course. But to me, that's normal.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that is the collaboration you described sounds aspirational, actually.
Yeah.
Last couple questions I want to ask you. I want to come back to practical advice that you could offer to people who are selling into local government. So I think the main takeaway that I have so far is be relevant, right? Understand what's going on at your level, at city council. Understand the constraints that you operate within. Whether that's ordinances or any kind of laws that have been set out. And people can do research online, right? Like a lot of the videos are online,
Right.
a lot of budget documents online, a lot of materials are posted online. One thing that I heard was, we have people who are really, really busy. So be careful about hitting them up, asking them for their time. But I guess what would you recommend? So there's all the publicly available stuff. I would imagine you would say, step one, familiarize yourself with all of that. But is there something else that a vendor could be doing to be really relevant and well-researched and timely, helpful, actually genuinely helpful to the staff?
I think you really hit upon the things that they would need to do. There are times when vendors, and these would be people that are local in the area, but if you are local and you're in the area and we're doing an event, or we're going to have a presence at an event, sometimes they send people and they try to get 5 minutes on the street or in the park or wherever.
Put a face with a name sort of thing.
Yeah.
For something you were already doing.
And that's fine.
Okay.
Sometimes, for example, our sustainability office does a green fair every year.
Yeah.
You may want to look into having a booth at the green fair to kind of put yourself out there if that's relevant to you. So things like that.
Okay, yeah. So maybe understanding what ongoing initiatives the city has in a given department or functional area and trying to map map into that in a way that's. So do you think that like your view there is representative of the rest of the staff for the city? Like, so basically, in other words, listen, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, please do your homework, research what our goals are and what our challenges are and what matters to us. You know, if there's something that we're already engaged in doing, show up there. Would they want a vendor to do anything more beyond that, or is that like if they can make it, you know, in their initial email or the voicemail that they send or leave for you, if it's talking about how they map into the things that they've researched, is that good enough in your view to like warrant a conversation?
You're simply trying to get in a position where you can be competitive.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing that we will do that should be interpreted as I'm sending you a signal that if you bid, you're going to get the business. We're not going to be able to do that.
Can't do that.
We cannot do that.
Right.
But at least understanding what your business is and what you can provide consistent with what we need.
Yeah.
We're open to trying to understand what the marketplace has that might be relevant to us. We're open to that.
And totally, and you kind of need that too. Like
we do need that.
What's an appropriate? I'm sure there's an appropriate timing of that, though, right? Like I think certainly after an RFP solicitation is out, outside of the prescribed times where you can engage with the vendor community, you really can't be setting up meetings outside of that, right?
Right.
So is it? Would you say it's like appropriate up until the point where an RFP is released or a solicitation is released to try to engage, assuming that it's relevant? Is that fair?
Yeah, because the RFP issuance would be the cutoff.
Right.
You know, there's an RFP on the street for X, so you know I can't have any side conversation with you. If you want to bid, and we'll see where it goes. If you don't, then kind of watch how it plays out. It's got to be public. It's going to go past city council. The amount of the contract is going to be in the public realm. You'll see what we spent on it.
Right.
And then they may educate you for later.
So is it, how often is it the case, last question, then I want to ask you one quick wrap up one, but how often is it that like, you know, an RFP will be released, the solicitation goes out, people come back, they respond, you know, it gets put to city council, it's approved, and then for whatever reason, it doesn't pan out. Like, you know, maybe like you talked about during the implementation, something goes off and you're not able to, the vendor's not able to deliver on it. Is that a common thing? And if there were issues with the implementation, because I'll give you an example. We have one of our partners, one of the things they like to do is watch for, you know, their competitor being mentioned in a council meeting, specifically related to an implementation going off the rails. And then, you know, if they find that, then they've got a hook to reach out to somebody. I'm just curious, like, would that be too late, or is that if the implementation is going off the rails, is that like in your view a good time for someone to reach out? Because you've already signed a contract.
Well,
right.
It's what are you reaching out for? Are you reaching out to say if we rebid it, you want to make sure you get an RFP? Are you trying to say, I see it's failing, and my solution is.
I think it's the latter, actually.
Well, if you didn't bid in the first place, then there's nothing we can do. If you're on the vendor, if you're on the list, so you submitted a bid, the first one doesn't pan out, we have to look for what is option B. Then option B needs to be another bidder.
Got it. Unless you resolicit.
Unless we have to just cancel the whole thing and start all over.
Got it.
It doesn't really occur that often that something just fails.
Yeah.
Because we would have tried it, we would have looked at your references.
Right.
In some cases, we would have tested it. And if there is a lack of performance or performance-related issue, we're going to bring that to your attention right away.
Yeah.
And
give you a chance to cure.
Yeah, we expect you to cure.
Yeah.
If you say, well, that's what it is and we're not going to do anything, every contract that we write will have some kind of exit clause.
Yeah.
So you don't want it to come to that. And really, if a vendor is making money, why would you not want to perform?
Right.
Why would you want to risk losing a revenue source or stream?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Got it. I could go on and on about the contractual details there because I think sometimes they do end up mattering, but really appreciate your time today, Milton. Thank you so much. Last question.
Yes.
Where can we find the book?
You can go on Amazon if you're so inclined. It always begins with leadership. It's right there, pop up if you want to read it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Appreciate
for
your
asking
time.
me.